What's up, everyone? Arion here. Welcome back to the United Levels YouTube channel, and I am back with kind of a bittersweet feeling, a bittersweet report, because this was originally in the running to come out last week, and of course, last week all we were hearing was good news regarding United's potential signature of Jadon Sancho. Um, the reports were coming from the likes of Fabrizio Romano that the agent fees in personal terms haven't and are not an issue. And then there were reports coming out from the likes of James Cooper, who is a very reliable journalist, a Manchester United correspondent for Sky Sports News, of course, that the fee structure, the Dortmund's valuation, what United are thinking of, wasn't an issue either. So I think combining those two together, one, Cooper from Sky Sports, that is somebody who likely gets briefed by the club, who is always at the press conference, somebody who has the ins and outs and the contracts and around the club. And adding that to the reports presented by Fabrizio Romano, who of course is the transfer news guru, essentially, if you want to call it that. That's the guy who has all the intel from agents themselves, very close to players' agents and things that are going on from that side. So I think adding those two together, it felt like this move was closer. It was probably on the verge of being a done deal, to be honest. That's what that's what you got from those reports. Just logically trying to add them two together. But now, as we enter this new week, over the weekend there have been some developments. Of course, last night Sancho played for Dortmund in their German Cup game. He scored, as did Jude Bellingham on his official debut, making it the first time ever in their history that two English players have scored in the same match. And it's it's an interesting one because, again, the thing that's blocking this move from happening is the fee, essentially. It's Dortmund's valuation, which is and will be £108 million, 120 million euros. We have known this for a long time now. We've known this since before the summer. We've known this throughout the summer. And any hopes that and whatever tactical ploys United had over the summer to maybe try and get Dortmund to budge and lower the valuation somewhat just to try and play ball with them, because of the circumstances, the climate that we're living in right now and all that, it just hasn't worked. Dortmund, I think Dortmund know how good Sancho is and how much better he can still get. And this is a case of, if he doesn't go this summer, they are not that desperate for money. And he will definitely go next summer, and probably for even more if he puts in even half of the season that he did last year in terms of goal contributions. There will be a lot more clubs in for him. You would have to assume that the likes of Barcelona and Madrid will kind of be somewhat back on their feet in terms of their wage structure and financial capabilities, especially if fans start coming back in some capacity, as that has already been happening in some countries such as France. So it's just United. It feels like this deal is there for United, and this is the perfect time for United to get that deal done. Um, nobody has been linked to Sancho other than United, and United have been negotiating this. It has been known that this has United's priority for this summer for quite some time. So now they're in a very difficult position because it feels like Dortmund has gotten frustrated. Dortmund have made it clear, obviously, what their valuation is, what they want. And I think at the beginning there was even hope of getting them to accept either add-ons or installments. But I think United were just playing hardball to a point where Dortmund now just want that money guaranteed up front. And if not, then they're just not going to sell. And I think in the grand scheme of things, there is still a move there. There's still room there for United to get back in there and just meet their valuation and guarantee the whole sum, but just kind of set up some sort of an installment plan, because obviously paying £108 million all up front in one go is just unrealistic. United even split Aaron Wan-Bissaka's transfer fee, which was about approximately £50 million, into two installments, because that's just how football financing works. The fees are so big right now, and the transfer windows just keep on getting inflated. That it's just unrealistic to pay that much in one go. But what Dortmund are after is that they want that valuation that they have of Sancho guaranteed, instead of it being on performance-based add-ons and stuff like that. Because, for example, if Sancho has a clause in there that United will pay them £5 million if he ever wins the Ballon d'Or, well, Sancho might never win it, or he might win it in 10 years, So you do certainly see where Dortmund are coming from, especially right now, where money is kind of an even more prized asset than it always is in life, because now it's just that much more difficult to be sustainable. So as much as Dortmund have been very tough in this negotiation process, it feels like United do have the capabilities to meet their demands, and £108 million for a 20-year-old who has put up the numbers that Jadon Sancho has been putting up, and the 40 goal contributions last season is just, it's insane. It's something that, players from the Bundesliga have been translating their abilities into the Premier League very well in recent history. We even saw just last night, Timo Werner came in and looked very good. He won Chelsea's penalty to open their score sheet against Brighton last night, and he just looked very comfortable. Kai Havertz a little less, but he was played out of position, and also he was there shorter. He didn't really have any time to train and kind of get that grasp of what Chelsea is about and what English football is about from training. So I think that can be excused. But then also seeing how Bruno Fernandes hit the ground running, how Wan-Bissaka hit the ground running, how Maguire hit the ground running, you just kind of get that if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer tells you that this player is it for right now, he's earned the right for you to believe him and to grant his wish, because he has shown the trajectory that this club has been on ever since he took over. Apart from that blip after his spell as interim manager, he's shown what he's trying to do, the culture of football that has been instilled, that kind of United DNA, the aura about the club has been brought back. The performance on the pitch against the big sides have been excellent. Ever since Fernandes and Pogba came back, putting away the smaller teams has been much improved. The project, it's there to be seen, and I think players such as Sancho, who, according to all reports that are pretty much very believable, wants to join. Apparently also he has spoken to Solskjaer already, like that's how the terms have been agreed. And obviously, Dortmund are willing to sell if a player was able to talk. If the personal terms have been agreed, there's obviously something there. A deal is there to be struck, and it's just for United. For however long now we've known what Dortmund want, and the ball is totally in United's park. All United have to do is just trigger that bid, just meet Dortmund's valuation, and I think, according to most reports, and Fabrizio Romano sticking to it, as soon as United meet the Dortmund's valuation, it's a done deal. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next couple of weeks. I think there's 3 weeks left until, just under 3 weeks until the 5th of October transfer deadline. There's also an interesting thing. Sancho's appearance for Dortmund last night was his 100th for the club, and there was a clause in his contract that was granting him a bonus once he does get to that number of appearances, which might mean that looking into him playing last night might not be, you shouldn't look too far into it, because that might have been something that he just had to do in order to get his money, which is totally understandable. He went through the game injury-free, scored a goal, had an assist, very good performance, and I think he wasn't going to be available for United to play against Palace probably anyway. So rather than him sitting that game out, it was good for him to get some minutes under his belt after coming back from England duty. And I think not all hope is lost in this deal. I think most United fans, a lot of United fans have kind of given up on this right now. They feel like United just have dropped the ball on it again, which you can't really blame them for, because that's just the reputation of this club recently. Whenever a manager starts doing some good, and in Solskjaer's case, a lot of good, you feel like the club will go and say, we will back you now till the end, because we see your vision, we see what you have done. You have transformed this club in a short amount of time with very limited resources at your disposal, with injuries. You have managed to kind of instill that somewhat winning culture, that somewhat the grind culture, the players wanting to play for the badge again, the morale being a happy one around the club, that it's worth backing you, and it's worth seeing where you can take this at full capabilities. And seeing how much money Chelsea have spent, seeing how City went in and signed players very easily, very quickly, and how other clubs are doing business, United are definitely capable. As Ed Woodward said in the past, United have the capabilities in the transfer market that other clubs can dream of, but right now he is just not proving it. The consensus belief is that Sancho is the missing piece right now in that forward line. Greenwood's breakout has been excellent last season, but you cannot just over-rely on an 18-year-old, soon-to-be 19-year-old. It would be criminal to do that, especially with what's been going on with his name in the media right now. You don't know how he's going to hit the ground this season. He seems like somebody who's kind of able to block that stuff out and just focus on his football. But like any human, it wouldn't be surprising if it did affect him in some way, and maybe he had some sort of a block. Maybe he will opt to play it more safe just to keep his name out of the headlines. But that's all remains to be seen how Solskjaer handles this and how Greenwood comes into the new season with a new number as well, number 11, which is quite a bit of pressure. And adding Jadon Sancho into that mix of Martial, Rashford, Greenwood, even the Dan James coming off a break and very good international break performances, a newcomer in Donny van de Beek who looks very, very hungry to go forward, Bruno Fernandes, Paul Pogba, it just makes United a force. Adding a name like Sancho, a person who can make a goal contribution out of anything, who's dynamic, who suits perfectly. He fits United's front scheme like a glove. He fits how Solskjaer wants to play like a glove. He plays across many positions. It's just ideal. And for that money, it is a lot of money. But in today's market, players like Ousmane Dembele, the likes of Neymar, Felipe Coutinho, you just have to pay that much for a player of that quality. And Sancho has sustained it over 2 seasons now, and it feels like the perfect time to get him in. 20 years old, he's an Englishman, he wants to come back to the Premier League and prove himself. United seem like the perfect fit, and it's just time to pay up. United are able to do it. It's understandable that they're trying to negotiate, but there comes a point where you just have to pay up. It was similar with Harry Maguire. United could have gotten him for cheaper the summer beforehand. The next summer, Leicester just stuck a price tag on him, and United were trying to negotiate all summer, but to no good. And they paid up what they had to pay up eventually in the end. And Maguire came in earlier, obviously, because the transfer window was closing early. But United ended up just buckling and paying up. And I think that's what Woodward doesn't want to do. He doesn't want that reputation of him not being able to negotiate deals down. But unfortunately, it just looks like he isn't. Clubs don't want to play ball with him. It might be the United tax as well, that the things that he has been saying about United's financial capabilities. And I think that just adds up. And now United are in the position that they are. You either pay up or you don't get the player. But I think summing it all up in the grand scheme of things, you have to pay the money for Jadon Sancho. That's a player that fills your right-hand side with Mason Greenwood for over the next decade. Realistically, if the club comes back to successful ways, they don't want to leave. They're both Englishmen, they're both young, they're friends. That right-hand side is filled and it's set. And it's probably one of the best in the world. And the addition of Sancho probably makes United's front three one of the best in the world, as it already was last season with Greenwood. They outscored the likes of Salah, Firmino and Mane altogether with 60 plus goals between the three of them. So I think Greenwood is only going to get better. Sancho's only going to get better. Anthony Martial is still getting better. And Marcus Rashford has shown last season what he's capable of and now fully fit. You feel like he just needs a couple of goals to go in until he is back to his best again. Along with a very much improved midfield and a solid back line, United could be out here. They could be onto a team with potential to become great, to start winning again. But they have to pay up. Jadon Sancho is a player that fits, and the money just has to be paid. We know what the price is. The deal isn't dead, but I think we just know what has to happen. United have to lay the money out and say, we want the player, and the player wants to come. And that will be the end of it.